air was all filled with the steam barrel organ, the clanging of gongs, the ringing of handbells. But as brilliant as it was tonight, tomorrow will be twice as bright, and I cannot wait for the day after the fair.
Hello, everyone. This is the 26th presentation in the York's Show and Tell series, which revisits notable York productions and brings the people who created them back together for a virtual reunion. A silly little pandemic tried to interrupt the York's 50th anniversary celebration, which began over 2 years ago. But we realized that this series is a great way to continue marking that milestone. We're delighted to share these shows and the people who created them with you. We've celebrated lots of shows, from Anyone Can Whistle to Beggar's Holiday, with Rothschild and Sons and Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope in between. You can find all of these programs on the York's YouTube channel. Subscribing to our channel costs absolutely nothing and does great things for both of us. You'll be able to access all of our events simply and easily, and it helps build the York's following in today's all-important world of social media. If COVID weren't enough, on January 4th, a Lexington Avenue water main break devastated much of our longtime home on 54th Street, our archives, our equipment, and our lives. We've vacated the space for the time being. When and if we return remains to be seen. The generosity of patrons over these months has been extraordinary. If you haven't contributed to our GoFundMe campaign, you may do so here. We have lots in store for you during the next months as we revisit other shows such as A Doll's Life, Souvenir, Texas in Paris, Pacific Overtures, and more. Various other events, a mix of virtual and in-person, will be happening throughout the coming months. Our new program, In the Pipeline, in which we talk to writers about their works in development, just debuted and will continue, as will Show and Tell. An interview I did with Gretchen Cryer and Nancy Ford on their career will be streamed soon. Big news very soon about our fall season. Remember that throughout tonight's program, you can type questions or comments into the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer them when we find the time. The show we're celebrating tonight is After the Fair, a New York premiere from our 1999 season. The book and lyrics are by stephencole, and the music is by Matthew Ward, both of whom are with us tonight. It's based on a Thomas Hardy novel. He is not with us. We've reunited some members of the York's cast. One of them will be arriving fashionably late, and some of the creative team for tonight's discussion. But first, I'd like you to meet my co-host and pandemic partner, Charles Wright, our resident theater historian. Charles is writing a book about the first 50 years of the York Theater Company, and he also happens to be the co-president of the Drama Desk. Charles?
Good evening, Jim. Thank you. As Jim said, tonight we are celebrating After the Fair, a chamber musical that played at the York in June and July of 1999. Stephencole and Matthew Ward based this show on a short story by Thomas Hardy, an English poet and novelist who was younger than Charles Dickens and George Eliot, and an almost exact contemporary of Henry James. Hardy's most famous novels, Tess of the D'Urbervilles and The Mayor of Casterbridge, for instance, are solidly Victorian. His final major work, Jude the Obscure, is arguably the first modern novel in English. Hardy chronicled the southwest of England, where he grew up in the humblest of circumstances. He also wrote about the more easterly region that includes the New Forest and Salisbury Plain. After the Fair is based on Hardy's 1891 short story, On the Western Circuit. It's set in a cathedral town called Melchester. That's actually Hardy's name for Salisbury. It's the story of a couple who meet at a fair in the Salisbury Cathedral Close. The man is a peripatetic lawyer practicing his profession by traveling the Western Circuit of provincial courts. The young woman is a lady's maid. Her employer is a frustrated Victorian wife, mismatched with an older husband. We have some footage that will give you a better sense of the story of both after the fair and on the Western Circuit, and will also give you a sense of the York production. So, can we roll the footage?
A review of a show that shares some of those qualities. There is love, there is sex, and there is loss. Roma has a look at the York Theatre Company's After the Fair. Roma?
Oh, but how different these shows are. Thank you, Sharon. Well, don't be fooled by the Rodgers and Hammerstein sounding title. After the Fair is no lighthearted musical romp. This adaptation of a Thomas Hardy short story might better be titled After the Affair. Set in Victorian times, the show's creative team has crafted an intense and well-orchestrated work that puts a novel twist on the Cyrano tale of mistaken love and mixed identity.
That life is precisely the things we don't want is not my regret. What's sadder to me is the things that I got, not just what I wanted to get.
Edith is the sort of repressed Victorian woman typical in 19th century literature. She's married to a stuffed shirt and yearns desperately to break free. Her housemaid, Anna, takes off one day to go to the local fair and strikes up a relationship with a dashing young barrister. They go for a quick roll in the hay and swear eternal love. And then come the love letters. He writes to her, but she's illiterate. So she engages her mistress, Edith, to take over the writing chores for her. And being smitten herself, Edith jumps at the task, body, heart, and soul.
Let's see. Beloved, why do I feel so jumpy and nervous? Why does the pen tremble in my hand?
Unwittingly, it's Edith the suitor falls for, and it all ends rather sadly and sweetly. The musical is a lovely, polished gem, small and intimate with just the 4 characters. Lyricist and book writer Stephencole has beautifully captured the stifling repressiveness of the era, and yet he allows us ample glimpses of his characters' tightly bound hearts. We feel for these people, and even at times feel like them. Composer Matthew Ward integrates the tunes nicely into the plot, and though lush, his compositions aren't the sort you hum out the theater. Leading the fine cast is Michele Pawk. So effective as the hooker tenant in Cabaret, she now plays the opposite here. Her wrenching struggle between duty and heart makes for high drama. Jennifer Piech, fresh from appearing in Broadway's Titanic, displays a gritty exuberance in both singing and acting that's infectious. James Ludwig keeps you guessing as the cad who does the right thing, and the buttoned-up hubby David Staller handles his end with a kind of poignant stiffness.
But how swiftly joy was done. Have a drink and bury your son.
Director Travis L. Stockley does a fine job plumbing the work for its bittersweet edge, and he pulls it all together nicely. After the Fair is an engaging and breezy stop on a very hot summer.
Yay!
Wow.
She liked us. She really liked us.
That's a money review if I ever heard one.
Yeah.
I would see that show.
I would see it too.
Now, what I'm curious about is the show she was talking about at the beginning, which she says.
It was another review that time, but I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Whatever it was before.
Yes. But anyway, so let's take a minute and meet everyone on our panel tonight, and let's hear where you are, what you've been up to, things like that, and up to over the past year and up to since the show, and a memory of the show perhaps, or we can come back to you for memories later. Why don't we start with Stephencole, our lyricist and book writer.
Hi there, everyone. Oh, it's always, when I see that footage, which is the only footage we have, it makes me extremely happy. It was the show was so beautiful to look at, besides the cast and how it sounded. And that's Jim Morgan too, that gorgeous set and the idea of using the windows and the hills. I don't know if you could see or if you remember, but they were made of the letters themselves. Everything, the backdrop was letters. And It's wonderful to see you again.
Can I just throw in about how times have changed? Now I would draw that out and have it printed on vinyl, and we would just staple it up. That was all hand painted. I painted the
I
scene
know.
and then hand painted all. So it's a time well in the past. I wouldn't have the energy to do it now, or the stupidity. But
Well, you did a beautiful job, and
anyway,
the costumes by
gorgeous.
Batari Pace are so gorgeous and so period. So it's a show that not only lives in my memory because of that, but because of how beautiful it looked, how incredibly cast it was. But what I've been doing,
And also, we should mention the beautiful lighting by Michael Lincoln.
Gorgeous,
really came off beautifully in the photographs.
And we're missing. We're like the Sunday in the Park painting. Which character is missing? And our director has passed away. Travis died in a car accident many years ago, and he did some incredibly beautiful pictures in the show. You could see it in that footage, even the pictures, and with the lighting and the costume. Really amazing stuff. I've continued to write. And I've had 2 other shows at the York, 2 other main stage shows, The Road to Qatar and Inventing Mary Martin. And I've continued my obsession with Thomas Hardy and Mary Martin and Ethel Merman. I'm putting them into a show together now. But I've been writing. I have a show called Merman's Apprentice. I have Inventing Mary. So I've been letting my obsessions go. And this past year, when theater has not been as possible and I had 2 productions canceled, I sat down and I wrote a novel. And I wrote many short stories. And the novel is pretty good, I think. Any publishers out there? And I'm happy to come back to the theater, but it's been wonderful to be able to get up in the morning and go to the keyboard no matter what. And I also have a sitcom coming up, which is going to star Anita Gillette. We're going to do a web series about a cantankerous 82-year-old woman, but we'll tell you more about that. So that's happening, and comedy is fun. After the Fair is almost, it was so important to me, but I have not revisited that kind of drama. I think Night of the Hunter is the closest thing to that. And I've done a lot of comedy since, but boy, was it a great time. And Jim, I don't know if you remember how it all happened at the York, but I ran into Jim Morgan at the Drama League luncheon at the Plaza Hotel. I used to write all the Drama League shows. And I said, Jim Morgan, you've got to do After the Fair. And he went, just like that, oh, that's interesting. 20 years later, it was on.
Was that the Drama League luncheon where Elaine Stritch made her famous speech?
Yes, that was the luncheon. That was the luncheon. I think I wrote all of the speeches. I don't know if you've done the Drama League luncheons. Everybody got to talk in those days on the dais. Yeah. And I had to write all the introductions, and they were all written for Matthew Broderick to say. Now, Matthew Broderick had them right in front of him, but he got everybody's name wrong. Every single person, like 50 people on that dais. And Elaine Stritch, what did she say, Jim? I don't remember.
It's not printable.
Okay.
I will tell all of you when the camera is shut off. But anyway, let's move on now to our composer, Mr. Matthew Ward.
Hi. Gosh. What have I been doing? It's so much has been happening since then. Stephen and I wrote another show together called Casper, and that was done at Pittsburgh CLO and was done in a big summer tour. It went to Dallas and then to Atlanta at the Fox Theater, and it starred Chita Rivera, and it was a big, huge show about as opposite to After the Fair in scale as I can imagine. We had a 14-piece orchestra. We had 4 flying rigs. We had just all kinds of stuff going on. And I was very excited because the show, there was some question of who had the underlying rights, but they were able to be secured by the Children's Theater of Cincinnati, and Casper, the Friendly Musical, in a somewhat shortened version, which focused more on Casper, the Friendly Ghost, than anything else in the show. And I really think it's, I was very excited. We had that show running, again, it seems like a year ago, but of course it was 2019. And then a beautiful version was shot of that, was videoed, and that ran on YouTube. They, the theater posted it for about a month as part of the COVID Bring Theater to Children, have them something to watch, and it was really exciting to watch that. So it's kind of a total opposite show to Cast to After the Fair, and I love it just as much. And
a palate cleanser, if you will.
A palate cleanser, if you will.
Yeah.
It's now a one-act palate cleanser, which is very good link.
Best kind.
Very best kind, yes.
Why don't we move along to our music director, Georgia Stitt?
I thought for sure that Cass was going to go next.
Oh, well,
Hi.
I'm just being whimsical, and I have control over it. So
Fantastic. I'm happy to be chosen. Hi, I was a music director. You're gonna laugh when I looked up the information about the show and saw that I was credited as co-orchestrator, and I was like, oh, really? I was? I did. I didn't remember that. I remember writing. And I remember Deborah Abramson and I working together on the orchestrations and the parts. It's one of the first jobs that I had out of graduate school. I went to the graduate musical theater writing program at NYU, and really within a year and a half or 2 years after graduating, I was music directing this show, After the Fair. And so a lot of what I remember about this project was figuring it out as I went and having this amazing cast of people figuring out with me. I felt this group was a team, really, in ways that it's not always the case. But I have many memories of that and of the friendships. Deborah Abramson said to me that this was her first professional job out of grad school. And since then, I was thinking, when you said, what have you done since then? I thought my entire career, every job has been since then. Mm-hmm. But one of the big things that I've done is I started a not-for-profit organization called Maestra that serves the women on the music teams, music composers, music directors, orchestrators. And Deborah and I are both participants in that. And she said to me that I gave her her first job. And this idea of women hiring women started then, I think, really. It was, she was the person that I thought that could do the job the best. And so I was happy to have her on the team. And speaking of the women sort of being present for the other women, one of the memories that I was just remembering was that in the dressing room, there were so few of us that I was in the women's dressing room with the cast. And I remember Michele Pawk telling me that she was pregnant before she had told the public. And she just said her son is 21 years old. So that is how long ago that was.
Wow.
Yeah. But I have been writing music and lyrics and have had several productions too, and running Maestra. And I just really just like a week ago finished music directing a film. I'm working on 13, which has been the Broadway musical that was adapted for Netflix. And I just got home from filming that, and I'm happy to be back in America. We were filming in Toronto in COVID quarantine times, and that was an experience, and made me long for chairs and music stands and people actually singing to each other. So it's nice to be among you and to be remembering this wonderful piece and this wonderful time.
Thank you, Georgia. Before we get into the...
May I add something to Georgia for 1 second? Georgia, do you remember another woman got you your job on that show? And that was Wendy Bobbins. Wendy was going to be doing the job.
No, I didn't know that. I don't think I knew that.
Yes, I think you were going to assist her, and she got another job. And I remember coming to meet you in your apartment in the Village, up a few flights.
That's
and
right.
I said, yeah, let's use her. Why not?
Wow.
So that's fantastic. Well, Wendy is
really
now...
Wendy who did Yeah, now it's
That's
something you
great.
forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that. I mean, I might have known it then. I didn't remember it now. But Wendy is a member of Maestra and on committees with me and a mentor in our mentorship program. And I'll have to remind her that we have that in common. I don't know if she remembers either.
Absolutely. Because she had done readings of the shows. So I was so happy when she recommended you.
Wow. Well,
Now,
thanks.
she works with you at Wagner, doesn't she?
She's my teaching partner. We teach together. When Mamma Mia closed or was closing, we've been friends kind of, you know, peripherally. And she just like out of the blue texted me and said, hey, listen, you know, Mamma Mia's closing. At that time, Molly, her daughter, right, when she was like, I think I'm looking for maybe something else to do, maybe do a little teaching if anything comes up. So of course, you know, you make heaven and, you know, and I've been teaching with her for years now, which is like just a gift every day. Yeah. So, oh my gosh, I don't know that I knew that, Georgia and Stephen. I did not know that. She's coming out here Thursday night, so we'll lift a glass.
That's amazing.
Out here is where?
Oh, South Orange, New Jersey. That's where I am right now, where I've been for 15. Well, I guess our son was 5 or so. So a chunk of time. I don't know. I've been teaching a lot. The last 10 years, I've been teaching for 10 years, which is incredible, and was a gift during this past year. These kids showed up in masks and were singing and dancing and just doing it. I was like humbled and inspired by them. So I don't know if any of them will ever see this, but it's true. They're incredible.
They will.
Well,
I know 2 of them that.
Well, that's true because you've hired them. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. They have to.
Nick and Fiona. Nick was an intern for us. Fiona was my assistant for a lot of this year. They're great kids.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary kind of student that goes to that school. They're just, they think about their place in the world. They think about their kind. It's incredible. So it's been great. I've been there for 10 years. Awesome.
Now well, first of all, in the ensuing years, anything you want to tell us about since the show?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I've worked sometimes. Right. Sometimes I've like ripped up carpet and I planted a garden and things like that, which have been incredible. And
life garden grow.
Read a lot of good books. Like I said, our son is 21, so that was a large chunk of there's a couple of things that like flood back, right? I know I was trying to keep it a secret because I was like early on pregnant. You're not supposed to tell anyone. Plus I was old at the time. And I remember out of the going on in production and my breasts just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And it was you, David Stoller, one day took me aside. He said, "Are you pregnant?" I said, "Why would you say that? Why would you say?" He goes, "Your breasts are huge." I was like, "I'm pregnant." Then the cat was out of the bag. I think the ladies.
I'm so sorry.
Oh no, who cares? But you know what? You know what's an interesting sort of fact? Of the 4 of us just in the acting company, right? 3 of us share the same birthday. David and Jimmy and I share 11, 16. Of course, I think I'm probably the oldest. Yeah, we share the birthday.
And by far the oldest.
And since then, we have always either texted or called each other on our birthday.
Year.
Always.
I guess.
Wow.
We've never missed a year. Not that I can remember.
No, me either.
In a 4-person cast. That's amazing.
I know. We've adopted Jen and Georgia. We'll take them, even though they're not scorpions. It's okay. We still love them.
That's amazing. Well, let's take a minute and hear a musical number that we happen to have from the beautiful cast recording on Varese Sarabande. Is that what? Yes, Bruce Kimmel.
It's Kimmel
produced it. Beautiful recording. Here is Beloved.
Let us get on with the letter. Then you'll do it? Yes, I will. Now, would you like to hear what you are going to write? Beloved. rapture to read what you say. The words cannot capture what I feel today. The moment we shared was exquisite and sublime. A moment in space, a moment in time. You ask me to send you a tender reply. Let my words befriend you, and please know that I am longing and waiting for words from your pen. Please write me when we can share a moment again, and remember till then I'm your Anna.
Wow. Wow.
Brava.
From the first time I heard it, the mix of the lyrics and the music just grabbed me in an amazing way, and the melodies are unforgettable to me. And hearing them all again just brought it all back.
Thank you, Jim. That was the first song we wrote for the piece, because I knew that I had to find out if I could write one of those gorgeous letters from Edith and how to do it. And once we got that, I said, oh, we can write this show, okay. And it was the first song we wrote. Remember that, Matt?
Yes.
Charles, did you see the show?
Yes, I did. I have very happy memories of seeing the show. It was a beautiful production. It's actually quite faithful to the story, though the endings are not precisely the same. They are ambiguous in different ways. But I wonder, gentlemen, what led you to decide to dramatize this really undramatic short story?
Well, I can start. Matthew and I were writing another musical called The Electric Grandmother, based on a Ray Bradbury story. I Sing the Body Electric. And we were led up the garden path with Ray Bradbury for a long time. And then he called us and said, I'm writing my own musical. You can't do yours. And we were devastated. So we looked for a public domain story, something we did not have to get the rights to. And it was my friend who said, watch this BBC production of The Day After the Fair, which I did. And I fell in love with the story. And then I read this short story and loved it even more. When you talk about the ending, I originally ended it exactly as the story, which is basically even more down than ever. It's when Anna says, yes, you and me and our baby will be just fine. And they're just like, uh-oh. And I had let a friend read it, an agent, and he said, you have to have something else happen at the end. And I had no idea what, but I realized she might get another letter and have to make another decision in her life. What would she do? And I loved the idea of the lady and the tiger. So I did that. You know, what will she do? Will she stay with this guy that she finally has a better relationship with, or run away with Charles, or kill herself? One of those. So that's why the ending is different. And I like our ending better.
Well, I remember when I saw it, finding the end kind of devastating. But there certainly is hope there.
Yeah, She might stay with David Stoller. She very well might. Look how well he's kept for an old man, right?
It was my first growing a beard. That's my happiest memory of it, actually.
Yes.
Really? That was the first on the York stage?
You bet. I had to put white in it in those days. Don't have to anymore.
Well, Jennifer Peach.
Oh my gosh, you guys, hearing that music again. It's been so long. And Michele, you just reminded me, it was when we were doing this show that you were like, oh, you should look uptown. And I'm still living in Washington Heights in the complex that you introduced me to, that you were living at the time.
Down the street.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I'm reporting from, Washington Heights. We've been here all this time. After the Fair was the first show I did after Titanic, which I did for 2 years. And it was like the perfect, wonderful, rich relationship, small ensemble of glorious humans that I feel so lucky to have been a part of. I mean, everything about it was so special. I remember laughing with all of you and how hard that was in the corsets. That's one of my, main things was just the joy that we had, and how fun it was to figure it out every night and try to make every little thing work, just the craft of it. And since then, I did a number of shows, a little bit of TV and film, and then kind of left the business for a little bit. And my two greatest productions are Allison, who is now 19, and CJ, who is now 15. And then as they got a little bit older, I always intended to come back to the business, and I just started again in class. So I am auditioning mostly for TV and film right now, self-taping, hence the blue background. I'm producing a little bit too. I've particularly small plays that have a political relevance that are moving to me, are things that I'm kind of trying to champion and push forward. I'm also a co-producer on Come From Away, which hopefully will open again in September. So that's been a really exciting journey. That's our first, my husband and I, our first co-producer on that level. And yeah, so that's been great. I've been taking those producer classes with CTI because I really enjoy that side of it too, and would like to do more of that. So yeah, that's it. That's what I've been doing for 20 years.
That's beautiful. And do memories of any specific memories, funny or otherwise, come back from the show?
I feel like there are so many, but I should have written things down as I was thinking. But now that I'm on the spot, I'm like, I can't think of a one.
Well, you'll hear someone else say something, and you'll think of something. Let's move on to Mr. Ludwig, Jimmy Ludwig.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
We're very lucky to have Jimmy on board at the York. He's our Director of Education and Outreach Coordinator. And doing a wonderful job even through these very difficult months. And it's so wonderful to have him involved with us once again and on a basis.
I still haven't pulled off the summer program for this year yet, so don't say that just yet, Jim. We'll see how it goes.
I have every faith that it will happen.
I have to echo Jen and Georgia and Michele, everybody just saying how this show for me was, I mean, I loved everything about it. I loved the music, I loved the story, but it was really about these people, especially the music, Georgia and Deb and the acting company. We just got so much out of each other. And I remember a lot of laughter. And actually I found a couple, may I share a screen? May I share my screen? Because I found some pictures that I'd love to share with you.
Oh, great.
I think this is from when we were doing our costume fittings. We were just, there was a curtain set up. I think it was happening at the York. And then, so there were pictures happening and then we just started screwing around. And let's see if I can, oh yeah, this one. So yeah, just a little bit of something there. And here's Georgia with her eyes closed, and David with a lot of white in his beard. And then whoever the other photographer was, we all faced that direction, and Georgia kept her eyes open for that one. So, but this group, I mean, all the smiles, we had such just a fantastic time together. And I've been busy since then. Did some Broadway things, did a lot of everything, basically. I've been really busy. And then this pandemic happened. And for the time being, 2 years, thankfully, the year or so before the pandemic hit, I came on board at the York as the education director and outreach coordinator. And that was great. And then when the pandemic hit, my wife, Kristen Beth, and I sort of reinvented ourselves as teachers. So we're both teaching like full time at AMDA, which is the American Musical and Dramatic Academy down on 61st Street, and it's been astonishingly hard because they got like at Michelle's school, they're doing in-person classes, so their enrollment exploded. Everybody's behind plexiglass and masked and PPE and all that kind of stuff. And we went from not having much to do to working 50 and 60-hour weeks. So we're kind of busted, but it's been great. And the other day in my performance class, I put my head behind the plexiglass to my musical director, and I just said, "I just want to do shows. I just want to go do shows. Please, I just want to do shows." And that's really kind of where it is right now. I can't wait to walk into a rehearsal room without a mask. I can't wait to sing around a piano with people, with a bunch of real pros who can just kill it. I can't wait to feel an audience, to feel, not hear, but feel an audience. I miss it so very, very much. And one of the coolest places to feel an audience was at the York, because they were right there. And they always, and you could almost put your arms around them, and they felt like family, and the York feels like family. So it's really great to be here. Thanks.
Well, thank you. And with any luck, we will be back in that space or a similar space and recreate all of that feeling all over again.
Can't wait.
We could take a moment and hear another recording, which happens to be one that Jimmy sings, Between the Lines. Let's do that.
Most people can read, but most people see words, a page full of symbols and signs. But I found all that I need by learning to read between the lines. Each phrase that she writes reveals part of her soul. Each sentence more clearly combines the girl that she used to be with the woman I see between the lines. That rarest of creatures, a woman of imagination, unschooled she well may be. Those charms that attracted me had distracted me from her station, but one look within has made me see. Although she may be young, her words seem to be wise, and all of my being still pines for something I never had seen. A woman who's been where I've been and taught me to read between the lines.
Bravo. Bravo.
I was nervous.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Just
Gorgeous.
stunning.
Beautiful.
Well, so Mr. Stoller, can we come back to you at this point?
Jim, I don't want to alarm you, but there appears to be a man in your apartment.
No. No.
If
That's
you like,
Hans.
I can notify the authorities if
Yes.
you're concerned.
That's Hans Friedrichs, who has been invaluable in putting this whole series together and makes all of it happen in an amazing way. And you all will attest that he hounded you to get you to be a part of this and wouldn't give up until you said yes. And
Well, it feels a little like watching a production of Follies, having his ghostly presence wandering around behind you. I have some memories. I have memories that when I was first, I think I was the last one brought in because with the York, I was in about 20 things at your theater, but always brought in at the last minute to replace somebody. And I was brought in at the last minute and I was asked to sing a sardonic love song on the spot by that person who was the director. And so I sang Irving Berlin's Always as if I didn't mean it.
That's how you always do it, yes.
I'll be loving you always. And I was delighted to grow the beard. And it was one of the few times where, I mean, quite frankly, as charming and creative and delightful as the director was, nobody seemed to get along with him. So the cast and everyone backstage just really bonded. And since I lived so near the theater, we would hang out at my apartment, like between shows. And that's when we discovered the majority of us had the same birthday. I thought they were just yanking my chain. So when is your birthday? It is not. Stop it. I was rifling through my Rolodex, which ages me, of memories. And when I was at RADA, I had been asked to adapt a short story as a one-person show, as like a monologue. And I'd adapted this. I'd actually done this short story. And it was really horrible, but I was familiar with the story and also how completely peripheral the husband's character is. Barely exists. I seem to remember a moment when he walks in to ask why his wife is staring out the window and she's watching The Fair and basically says, "Oh, what an idiot you are," and disappears. I remember painting the set with you, Jim, which was always fun. There's a sense of camaraderie and family building that exists in the theater in a way that doesn't seem to in the rest of the world. I'm saying that as if I actually know the rest of the world. But my experience has been the joy of learning about people and partnering with people in a creative way. I had known you, Jennifer, because I was living with Kay Walby at the time. So I had come to Titanic a lot. And everyone else, except for Mr. Morgan, was new to me. But how thrilling it was to find a new piece, which to me is always the most vital element of theater, and find our way through it, to find some personal clarity through someone else's work, to have Stephen explain to me through your work, Stephen, what the play was, what that story by Hardy was about, that I had certainly not figured out when I adapted it myself. It wasn't too long after that that I became genuinely concerned about human rights and free speech. So by the time George Bush's administration was taking over and firing newscasters for speaking out against the administration. I remember, I think it was Dan Rather that got fired by ABC because he was speaking out against the Bush administration. I said, God damn it, I've had enough of this. So I was in a play by George Bernard Shaw at the Irish Rep, and I decided I would create a company named for my godmother, Hermione Gingold, who knew Shaw, and devote the company to empowering the disenfranchised and creating work that is art as activism and featuring the work of Shaw. And I've been doing that for 16 years. I haven't had any children, and I don't have a master's, but we do have 3 educational programs and do play development programs, and we do these monthly readings, which have all been online, which I kind of like. And
Bravo.
we do full productions. We're booked for October and November to do Mrs. Warren's Profession at Theatre Row. Going to do it all male, all nude. And if we can, I mean, and if we can't do the show, we won't. But I'm so impressed how all of you, all of us, have somehow kept it all going. Discovering these online formats that we're on now is so cool. I've been loving it. Having said that, like you, Mr. Ludwig, I'm really looking forward to being in a room. Georgia and I were all set to collaborate on something when the shutdown happened. I think that's what most annoyed me about it.
We will collaborate again.
Yes, but I didn't realize it was 1999 until Hans wrote. I mean, I'm older than all of you put together, but I have some sense of time, even in spite of the last year. But 1999, who were we in 1999? I mean, I was living with a woman. But yeah, you know, Michelle, I do remember, you know, it's interesting. It's like women who share a dressing room have often told me that their cycles start going into sync. And because it was such a small group of us backstage, I don't know what it is, but you start getting a sense about people, either physically or emotionally. And I remember being so thrilled. I thought, of all the people I know that should be bringing children into the world and saving it, I would pick no one better than Michele Pawk. And then the idea that you, Jennifer, and you, Jimmy, I mean, your kids are the hope for the future. I want to vote for them all for president.
I actually feel really terrible right now because in my
What about
moment,
Georgia?
I didn't mention my 3.5-year-old.
And Georgia, you've
Yeah.
got this whole family.
Georgia has
You're
2 kids.
married and you have children. And,
Yeah.
and I love social media and I follow all of you every minute. It's thrilling.
And Charles has a beautiful daughter as well, who's in the middle of her college years in the pandemic. The setting, it looks like a stage set behind you, and the 2 lamps almost look like
They're
electrified earrings.
Do you like
Yes.
them?
Yes, I do. I just wanted to mention that. But
Thank
it's the filigree arch around your head. It's just all too
It's a hat.
and Shavian too.
Thank you.
Well, David, I would just like to point out that the role of Arthur is much more prominent in After the Fair than in the original the original Hardy short story. Stephen, Matthew, could you say a little something about how you reshaped the relationship or the dynamics among the characters for after the fair?
One of the things that we did first was to figure out how many people we were supposed to have in the cast. We toyed with the idea of should there be cook or another maid for Anna to bounce things off of. There seems to be a husband somewhere in there. Yeah, he comes in and says, "Why are you looking out the window?" It took a while before, as we told the story, that we seemed to need Arthur to be there, and he really did just emerge from the shadows as far as I was concerned. I mean, really, I have a confession to make. I didn't really write all of the score to After the Fair. A lot of it was written by Foxy, who was Stephen's fox terrier, who would sit next to me on the couch the entire time. I did not write at the piano. I wrote most of this onto the score, and I wrote a lot of it at Stephen's house, and Foxy was right there with her head in my lap. So I think she wrote. I blame her for
Yes,
that.
it's
Yeah.
true. It is true. I had the most wonderful dog then, and she was magical, and she could do all that. But as far as author, yeah, he didn't exist really to me in the story at all. And even Charles was much less. And I knew that I needed to bump up the men. It really is just, the story is about the women. There's no doubt about that. And it's their relationship that is the most powerful, even now, even as we added men. But I knew if we're going to have a 4-character musical, and there was some wonderful symmetry to that author had to happen. And, you know, we did it several times before the York. We had other productions. We had 4,000 readings, as you always do. And every time it got bumped up a little more, and he got a little better and a little better. He got better after the York, too. We took it to London then. And I never stopped working on it, and we never do. He got a little better, but he didn't exist. And I had to find, and the backstory didn't exist. None of that stuff of them having a child. I invented an awful lot. And actually, I stole some of that from George S. Kaufman, because when Beatrice Kaufman lost a child, they never had sex again. And I remember reading that, and I thought, that's really good. I have to use that. And so I used it for Arthur and Edith. And their relationship, something went awry when she lost a child. And that was very helpful. And his song changed 4,000 times. It was he's had like 92 songs because we kept trying to get him right. Charles got better because we finally realized what a cad he was, and that he was not just, some handsome leading man. But right from the start, he knew exactly what he wanted, and then he got what he didn't want. So that was the complexity of these characters. All came from Hardy, but we just kept tweaking them and finding ways to pull them out. And the chorus of maids we did cut, yes. We got rid of that.
Do you have any of those songs for the chorus of maids?
No, but we have lots and lots of cut songs. Anna had
if I'd realized you were at a keyboard, we could have employed
done
that earlier in the evening. But did Foxy sing along?
Did she, Matthew?
No, she dictated telepathically.
Well, the show has had quite a long. It had a long gestation, and it also has had an active life since, and it is, of course, available for licensing now. Can you just tell us a little bit about the history? You started out with a workshop in 97, I think?
Probably. We probably started earlier. I don't remember. We won a bunch of contests. I think the first contest we won the first Promenade Theater Best Musical. They gave out a Best Musical one year, the Promenade, and they gave us a reading, a really expensive reading. And something was playing at the Promenade, so they put us in the Lortel. And we did it in the Lortel with our usual reading cast of fabulous people like Mary Beth Peel and, oh my gosh, who else was in that? I forget, what's her name from Into the Woods? The original Cinderella was Anna. We had a bunch of wonderful people. And an orchestra of 5. We only had 4 at the York. We had 5 for this reading, and it was insane. And they gave us all this money. We did this thing. People showed up in limousines at the Lortel, and nobody produced the show. And then we had other readings and other workshops, and I mean, Musical Theater Works was going to do it. You remember Tony Stimac? Anybody?
Oh,
he
yeah.
directed it at one point at the York, which was before Musical Theater Works.
And that was in
At the York-
1997.
At the York space before
Right.
we were there.
You weren't even there, right? And we had done it also at what used to be the American Place Theater. We had reading. This show ran so long in readings. It had like 9,000 performances, and everybody in New York was in it. Everybody grew old, and by the time we got to the York, I remember saying to Mary Beth Peel, "Oh, Mary Beth, we're going to the York." She said, "I'm too old now," and that was the end of that. And we got.
Where did you have productions? Where
Excuse
did you have productions leading up to?
The
Oh,
first
we were in Chicago, first in
the
Texas
Dallas Lyric
at Lyric Stage.
You got a lot of awards there.
Yeah.
You got, I believe, 5 Dallas Theater League awards, including Best New Musical.
Correct. It was Best New Musical or Play, which really made me happy. And Best Musical Production tied with the national tour of The King and I. Why not?
And I got
yeah, and then we went to Chicago.
Yes,
The
I got a
Apple
Best Musical Director award, and I was an orchestra of 1 in the pit. I had a very nice Steinway piano to do it with. So
In a pit, just Matthew, and he came cheap. It was good. And then so those happened. Chicago was the apple tree, and then I think York. I think then that's
Where again you got awards. You got a nomination at the from the Outer Critics Circle, and you got a Gilman Gonzalez Fala Award.
Yeah, she just passed away, Sandra Gilman. She loved this show, and she was a wonderful supporter of the show and gave us the award for that. The Outer Critics always gives me a little burn because we got nothing. We don't have a piece of paper from them that says we were nominated for anything, and nothing. You're nominated. What? But I have nothing to put on my wall.
We'll create something in Photoshop for you.
Thank you. I need something.
Nick Garrity, our former intern from Wagner, will create something in Photoshop. He learned Photoshop for us. Yes. Let's take a minute and hear another bit of.
Hey, hang on, Jim.
Oh,
we just should acknowledge that it also had a London run.
Yeah,
absolutely. I was going to mention,
the King's Head.
That was wonderful at the King's Head in Islington, and
the gentleman who helped it happen. The gentleman who helped it happen in Wright, Raymond Wright, took it to London. Yes.
Yes. He's the guy who helped. It's Georgia. He gave a little more money so we could have 4 musicians instead of 3.
Oh, here we go.
The 4 musicians are playing.
100 miles from now, we'll be a family.
We may yet be a family.
The happy ending's coming up.
For something should last.
The future is what drives the hopes of men and wives. And the future,
yes, the future
is coming.
Is coming.
Wow.
You sound great, Jimmy.
I was just going to say.
I have some notes.
That final T wasn't quite together, was it? Sorry, Jordan. Sorry.
Nice high notes.
Very nice. Very nice.
I love that.
Any other moments come back to anyone from the whole experience that you'd like to?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes.
Do the rest of you remember that Georgia and Deb would lead a warm-up every night? Like we had a warm-up, a vocal warm-up. And do any of the rest of you, can you all sing your thirds? Because I can still sing thirds. I couldn't tell you what I ate for breakfast, but I can sing do, mi, re, fa, mi, so, fa, la, so, ti, la, do, ti, re, do. Do, la, ti, so, la, fa, so, mi, fa, re, mi, do, re, ti, do. I can do that. Special skill, but I could do anything. And you taught us that. I went to a fancy college, didn't learn anything, but I learned that from you in the basement of the York.
I think I was trying to prove myself as a music director and pull out everything I knew.
Did I ever learn that?
Did you, David?
Did you?
And Georgia, do you still teach that to casts when you music?
Well, it's funny. I teach them. It's not solfege so much, but it's numbers. But I still teach numbers so that they start to learn pitches as intervals, so that if you say, you know, this is a fifth, then they have a mathematical concept of what that is. So, yeah, and I with the 13 kids, the kids that are 13 years old, we have those exercises and 1 1 2 1 1 2 3 2 1, that sort of thing, and then I have, you know, the high voices saying this note and you saying the third, and everybody go up a whole step or go up a half step, like just ear training, so that there's a little bit of teaching music theory, but a lot of teaching you how to listen to each other, which is what you have to do on stage. You have to just be a really attuned listener and notice, you know, if your scene mate is doing something a little different tonight and how you're going to adjust to them, not just as an actor, but as a musician. And so I think I was still figuring out how to teach that in those days, and probably am still figuring out how to teach that.
Wow. We have one more bit of music to listen to. So why don't we do that now? Here's Words Were Music.
Every morning I run just to greet you.
Oh my God.
Who would ever think that words designed to win you could defeat you? And your words were music, leading me along. Who knew when they were through there would be no song?
I only wrote what she asked
you
me
both
to.
must have laughed to deceive me. You burst into my life and brought me music just to leave me. And your words were music, drifting off too soon, leaving me with only an unfinished tune.
Yes, I penned every note, but it was she who felt what I wrote, not I.
Can't you see what you've done? Undercover in the music that we share, I discover you're my lover.
No.
The question now is why continue to deny the passion that has opened all the doors?
I never meant a word.
Come, are these her words? In all the letters that turned to music? Or is the music yours?
Wow.
I have a little secret about that song. Matthew and I had written a song for the Electric Grandmother, which Beth Fowler recorded for us, called I'm Forever. And I loved the melody so much. And when we had to abandon the show, I said, we're using it. And that's the melody of every morning I run just to greet you. And we did use it. And Matthew then turned it into this opera.
Yes, well,
I mean, it is. It's just the passion of it all.
One of my favorite Puccini tricks: put the tune in the orchestra and let the voice do something else. Also, when it was "I'm Forever Yours," it had a big ending. "I'm forever yours," with a big note at the end, and some of the original versions of Words Were Music had somewhat of that. Very early versions, we had a big high note ending for the number, and I believe a wise woman named Wendy Bobbitt said, "Don't do that." And so,
yes, and we listen sometimes.
If you listen to the number, it points at, but they never do the operetta thing together at the end. It looks like it's going to, but thanks to Wendy Bobbitt, we avoided that trap.
Wow.
The drama is correct now. That's what's important. Yeah.
We're at the end of our time for the evening. Would anyone like to offer a closing statement or memory or anything to help tie the evening up?
Let's all sing Always, a sardonic ballad.
Yeah.
I'm just so glad to see everyone again. It's so wonderful to see you all and hear this again. It's been great.
Well, I think it needs another production.
I agree. Michele, you were going to direct one. We did a concert version. You and Michele and Jennifer got to come see it. And she said, "I want to direct this." And I'm still waiting.
It'd be so juicy to do with students, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What a teaching thing, because it is juicy. I adore this show myself, of all my shows, because it has so much richness for actors, and there's just so much juice. And I think even if you did it again, all four of you would find completely new things in it, because it's, thank you, Thomas Hardy.
Unless I'd have to do George's warm-up, because that's just...
Well, the harmonies in this show were very tough. These weren't easy. Those intervals, the show opened with that incredible fugue. And so, no, it isn't easy stuff. It isn't easy. I had to learn every part when we would do it for people in my living room. And I remember actually doing it for an agent. And I was a great Anna. And she sat there and she said, "Next time you do this, get a girl."
If I had a nickel.
Anyone else of a final statement of any kind? Jan, anything?
I just can't believe that was Georgia's first thing. I didn't know that or understand that. And you had such confidence and excellence. You were in such command, and it was just thrilling because you had us. And I just can't even believe that was your first thing. That's news to me.
And Deb was in the same situation, right? First profession.
Yeah, it was not my very first job. It was, among my first jobs, first few years out of grad school. But yeah, and I think Deborah, I might be putting words in her mouth, but I think she said to me that it was her first professional job. Thank you, Jen.
May I ask you to tie everything up with a wonderfully philosophical ribbon?
I think this has been an enormous treat to be able to relive this with all of you. You've presented a very vivid picture of what it was like to be in that workspace. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. To all of those watching and those on the panel, a warm virtual hug of gratitude. Thanks to all our many special guests, without whom we'd have no reason to be here. Thank you, Charles. Thank you so much to all on the panel. Much appreciation to the entire York Theater Company staff who helped make this happen. Pushing buttons behind the scenes and actually running around my living room, our creative consultant, Hans Friedrichs, And another cog in bringing these conversations to you is our literary manager, Seth Christenfeld, navigating the Zoomscape. If you enjoyed this show tonight, please consider making a tax-deductible contribution to the York Theater Company to help keep these programs happening. Please click on the link in the chat feature to donate. We all hope you enjoyed tonight's presentation. And now one final musical moment with the entire cast of After the Fair.
For most people recall